Welcome back. This is Chiefs Studios. My name is Taylor Bell, and I appreciate y'all being here with me. Now, before we get into the Week 8 loss to the Denver Broncos, you do know what time it is, right?
Yeah. Woo.
I just need my
Yeah.
space right now.
Fresh off the G5 jet, I'm on my way to a brand new kit.
Okay. So, I was I watched yesterday's game sporadically and watched the replay this morning. I always like to watch a replay of the game just to make sure and solidify my initial thoughts, if they're correct, if I need to go back and change anything. Oh no, you watch something, oh my god, I can't believe this and that. You go back and watch the game, like, well, I can kind of see it went this way, it went that way. This was an absolute disaster. Um, Now, rolling into the game, I didn't really know what to expect. About 2 hours before the kickoff, it was about 3 hours before the kickoff, we found out that Mr. Mahomes right here had the flu. And I'm actually not feeling good today. If you see me sweating throughout this recording, it's because I have a head cold and a cold front just blew through here. So I'm not feeling the best today as well. So can only imagine trying to go out there and play a football game, what that's like. But what a disaster. The ugly game that plagued us from, I didn't think we could play worse than week one. Now, week one, when we got embarrassed, we dropped probably, I think it was 9 balls, and utterly got embarrassed. Yesterday was not so much embarrassing as it was disappointing and or frustrating. You made numerous trips to the red zone, and you didn't score. Well, you didn't score any touchdowns. There were field goals that were attempted and made, but no touchdowns, and that's been a issue that the team has been that's been popping up almost seemingly from week to week. But it's very frustrating now. The lack of wide receiver talent really showed on this one. Now, Mahomes played fairly well. Now, he did have two interceptions, a fumble in the game, which did not add to which did not help our chances whatsoever in this game. But the fact that Kelsey and the Mahomes connection could not get going, and we'll get into Kelsey in a minute. The fact that none of the wide receivers could get separation on the defensive backs is a big issue. And I'm going to sound like a broken record. The lack of wide receiver talent is not the only reason why we lost the game, but it's a big part of why we lost the game. I don't know. I would like to interview Brett Veach and probably give me a generic answer and probably would not answer the question. I'm all over the place right now. My mind is all over the place. You know what really frustrates me is I watch some of the other Chiefs YouTube channels, and I think a lot of these fan based channels are in denial. And it's not necessarily only the Chiefs. I go around the league. I actually subscribe to a number of one or two Chiefs fan channels, as well as like a Ravens channel. I subscribe to a Carolina Panthers fan channel, which is very entertaining, a 49ers fan YouTube channel that's very entertaining and informative. Um, and those guys, Haberman and Middlecoff, those guys do a really good job. They're really objective, so they stand out as far as the other ones. But 9 out of 10 channels that I subscribe to are delusional. They don't see what happens on the field objectively. They're not looking at what happened in the game from the outside in. They're looking at it from the inside out, meaning they don't see what's really going on, and they're optimistically dumb when it comes to just being And I'm not a pessimistic person. I'm always glass is half full. But when it comes to sports, when it comes to the teams that I follow, I can see what's going on, and I can kind of tell you the truth, what I honestly think, and kind of tell you in the future the way this team is going, they're not going to win the Super Bowl with this team. I don't believe so. Is it possible? Sure, it's possible with Mahomes as the quarterback. He could go on a unbelievable Tom Brady like stretch of games where literally puts his back on his team and wills them to win. Has he done that before? Yes, he has. And it's almost Tom Brady like, now that I think about it, with the wide receivers. Now, when Tom Brady was winning championships and going to the Super Bowl every year, it's a similar thing. Now, he had more wide receiver talent on those Brady led teams than the Chiefs have on this current team. You always had a Wes Welker, you always had a Julian Edelman, and then, of course, you had a couple of other wide receiver talents there. But this one's different because you do have Kelsey. True, he's a tight end. You can rely on him, which we didn't yesterday. But the way it's going, I do not see them winning a Super Bowl this year with this current roster. And getting back to Brett Veach, I want to know what his. I harped on this maybe 4 weeks, no, maybe 6 weeks ago. I think, or maybe 7 weeks ago. I think it was in rolling it after the week one loss when we got embarrassed. One question I have is, what were you expecting to get out of this wide receiving core coming into this season? You basically let go now for different reasons, whatever, and I get it, contract or performance based, but these wide receivers are so young, lack experience, and you lack blazing speed. You get rid of Sammy Watkins, you get rid of Tyreek Hill, um, even McCole Hardman, which you bring back, but I don't know going into this year. What did you expect? What did you expect to happen, basically? Because before we started this podcast, this show, I was sitting down looking at the roster. Okay, because when the off season hits, I check out. I don't look at football. Even the draft, I'll look to see who they pick, but I don't sit down and watch it. Rolling into this year, I look at the roster, and the very, very first thing going down the roster, going down the list of who we're going into camp with, my very first thought is, damn, I don't recognize maybe but one or two of these wide receivers, and that's a stretch at that. Um, there's just not much there. And I don't know what they were going into this year, why they constructed the wide receiving core the way they did. Yes, you expect them to get better, get another year under their belt. Most of them are like second year players, but it's a group of number 2 and number 3 wide receivers. It's a broken record. There's no number 1 receiver. There's no possession receiver. There's no burner on the team that can stretch the field. Going into this game, I knew that the Chiefs were going to throw short passes, little out routes here and there, maybe make, especially with Mahomes feeling sick, especially with it being like 18 or 23 degrees at kickoff. I knew that they would probably throw the ball, take a couple shots downfield, nothing crazy, which is basically what they're doing all year because they don't have anybody that can stretch the defense. Um, and all it takes is a few turnovers here and there, and you're going to be struggling at the end of the game to score points. Um, there's only a few days left. You bring McCall Hardman back in before the trade deadline. I expect them. I would hope that they're on the phone 24/7 working every other NFL team to see um what you can do to bring another veteran wide receiver in. You don't have much cap room to work with. And look, I don't expect any. I hope they make a trade for somebody. I don't know who. I don't know. Judy yesterday. I was thinking after the first Denver win 2 weeks ago, man, it would be nice to get Judy in here. Now, the way they looked yesterday, if I'm Denver, I'm not trading Judy unless you give up a massive amount of capital for him. I'm not trading him, so he looks to be off the table. I just don't know what other wide receivers out there that you could honestly make a trade for or that would honestly make a difference. But that's not my job. That's the front office job of the Kansas City Chiefs. So hopefully they bring somebody in. I don't know who, I don't know what. I just hope something gets done because the way this team is currently constructed, they're not going to go far in the playoffs. Are they making the playoffs? Sure. They still have a great record. They still are a pretty dangerous team. However, their flaws are pretty obvious. A good defense like Denver, once you get into the playoffs, you're going to meet top of the chart defenses that can easily shut down these wide receivers. You basically have two options if you're a defense against the Kansas City Chiefs. You can basically shut down all the other wide receivers and put mild pressure and just kind of not let Kelsey go or free, but basically put everything on him and try to limit his touches, or when he catches the ball, basically tackle him. Don't let him get any yards after catch. Now, the other option is to double up Kelsey and basically make this group of number 2 and number 3 wide receivers beat you, which I don't believe is possible. Again, against a playoff team defense, I do not see this going well. I do not see this ending well for the Chiefs. This is the story of the year. Very inconsistent. You see, now I was very optimistic and very happy last week when they seemingly exploded offensively. It seemed like everything was working. I was like, well, thank God. It took them 7 weeks to get here, but at least they had a good outing. And hopefully they could build upon that. And going into this Denver game, I felt fairly well. Even that was before I knew Mahomes had the flu. But I don't see. I just see it being a roller coaster. Excuse me. I think you're going to have a really good game that looked like they explode offensively like last week, and then you're going to have 2 or 3 games where it looked like yesterday, where you're going to struggle, and it's just up and down and up and down, and that's why you can have a great record, but I cannot put you on top of the league as the best team in the NFL or even in the top 3. I think right now, I think I had them number 3 last week. This week they're falling out of the top 5. I see many teams in the league beating Kansas City. Let me get into the let's get into the game stats real quick, and let me show y'all something. Look. So, Mahomes had a decent day, but throwing the ball minus the 2 interceptions, minus him dropping the ball for a fumble. But this rushing is another issue. This whole rushing, the run game is a major issue. Now look at this. Look at these receiving yards. Look at this. This is a group now minus Kelsey because he is an All-Pro. Minus Travis Kelsey. If you go one step below, these are your wide receivers. Look at this. I mean, nothing that really now. Rashee Rice had a nice catch and run down the field. There was another catch or two that was seemingly pretty nice. But look, this is supposed to be your number 1 wide receiver right here. Well, again, minus Travis Kelsey. I'm talking true wide receivers, not tight ends. Look, this is supposed to be your number 1 right here. Kadarius Toney, 1 catch, 4 yards. Sky Moore, who's supposed to take the next step, 1 catch, 8 yards. Jerick McKinnon, 1 catch. Mecole Hardman, who actually played very well last week, 2 catches. Noah Gray, 2 catches. Scantling, 2 catches. Justin Watson, 2 catches. Rashee Rice, 4 catches. He had that 1 big catch that I think he got 30 or 40 yards. So if you take that 1 catch away, he's got 3 catches and 25 yards. I mean, it's pretty embarrassing yesterday. Kelsey didn't have an enormous day yesterday. Nothing was clicking. Just an absolute abysmal performance. And this play is not going to get you a championship. This roster, not championship roster. It's just not. I'm sorry. And I'm not one of those, like I was saying earlier in the show. I'm not one of those fans that's just looks past stuff and you know puts blame on other things, ref, the flu, it being cold, it being an away game. No, they played horrible. There is no, again, broken record. The wide receivers, the lack of talent at the wide receiver position is the biggest negative, is the biggest liability for this team. You have the biggest asset in the whole world, and not only in the NFL, just literally in Patrick Mahomes, the best player in the NFL, and he basically is throwing to third string wide receivers. That doesn't make any sense. Again, I don't know how or why we are in this position. I would like to ask Brett Veach that, and or the Kansas City front office. This just doesn't make any sense. And it's going to be like this from week to week. Like I said, you're going to have a couple average. These are professionals, so you are going to see a couple catches down the field every game. You're going to see some decent performances. You may even have a really good game like last week where it's like, oh man, they broke out of this. But again, the lack of talent, you're going to have games like this where they look like they suck. It's going to be very, very inconsistent play. And it's going to be like this for the rest of the year. Next week, they're going to come out and look pretty good. Week 9, actually, I think they play in Germany next week against the Dolphins, I believe. We'll look at the schedule in a minute. That's like 8 in the morning, so I'm going to have to get up and watch that game, which is going to be hard, but we'll do it. Hopefully they put on a good show for Europe, and against the Dolphins, it should be pretty explosive. Let's hope they can get their act right for the rest of the world to watch, because the rest of the world will be watching next week. Let me check. You know what? Let's go see where they're playing next. Let's see schedule. Yes, next week they play in Germany against the Miami Dolphins next Sunday at 8:30 in the morning Central Standard Time. If you're on the East Coast, that's 9:30 in the morning. If you're on the West Coast, it's 6:30 in the morning. So let's hope they put a good show for the rest of the world in Europe, specifically Germany. I just don't know what to expect. It could be a stinker, and that's the thing with this team. Very inconsistent. The defense still looks like it's pretty good. I'm not worried about the defense, right? That's why I haven't talked much about it. The defense I'm not concerned about. Actually, they played fairly decent. You should. How many points how many points did they put up? The Broncos. What was it? 24? I'm not concerned about the... What am I doing? I got a brain fart. $24. I'm not concerned about the defense, right? Normal. I would like to hold them under 21 points, but 24, that's respectable for this day in the NFL when it's offense heavy. The Chiefs, as of last year, as of 2 years ago, as of 3 years ago, should have beaten the Denver Broncos, scoring 24 points. Normally, no problem. Chiefs were averaging, 30-plus points a game in the past. Defense is fine. It's all on the offense. And it's not even so much the play calling. It's the chemistry between the quarterback and the wide receivers. It's the lack of talent at the wide receiver position. It's the lack of talent at the running back position. It's just not there this year. So It's we're gonna have to deal with this for the rest of the year. So I'm not gonna harp on it too much more. It is what it is. We got our butts kicked, and it was very clear to see why. This is not. Look, was I shocked that this outcome happened? No, not really. Was I surprised? Maybe a little bit that it was this bad. I didn't think we were going to take this far of a step back from last week's performance, but inconsistency is going to be the theme of the year. It just is. Like I said, you're gonna have good games, and then you're gonna have games that you just suck, and it's gonna be like that all season. That's why I don't have much confidence going into the playoffs. Definitely not. Don't expect them to be in the Super Bowl this year the way Cincinnati looked. And I'm gonna put another video up as far as the other games and stuff. Kind of covers some of the other aspects of the NFL, but this is a game recap. But the way Cincinnati looks, definitely have a upper hand, especially if Burrow's healthy. I hate Cincinnati and the Bengals, but look, I'm honest, and right now they will beat the Chiefs. So, anyways, I'm gonna get off of here, and I've rambled for long enough. I do appreciate you spending some time with us. Please check out our other videos. Fred, he's going to be posting videos here sometime soon, so we will get him back up and running. And we do have an announcement to make, but I'll wait for Fred to get back and get on, and we'll make that announcement together. So I do appreciate the time, and I will be back with y'all here in a day or two with some more Chiefs content. Peace out.